That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Charlie. That's very kind of you to host us here. Much appreciated. Right, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk for 20 minutes, have a little Q&A then George's going to talk for 20 minutes, and then we do a joint Q&A at the end of it. So going to charge through things quite quickly. What I'm going to talk about is 10 signals of fundamental change in real estate. So, before we get going on that, why do we need to look out for signals? Why is it important to look out for signals? And I think the reason is that because change is not linear anymore. Change is discontinuous. It's very, very likely that everything is okay until suddenly it isn't. So I always like to start with this quotation from Ernest Hemingway in 1926 from his book The Sun Also Rises. One of his characters in the book was asked, well, how did you go bankrupt? And he says, well, two ways: gradually, then suddenly. That's the point. We need to look out for the things that drop very, very quickly. So, signal number one: Alibaba invests $9.3 billion in offline retail. Amazon buys Whole Foods, and both of them open unstaffed stores. So what is going on here? It's absolutely fascinating. If you watch Alibaba, they own shopping centres, they own department stores, they own electrical retailers, they own furnishing stores, they own an incredible amount of stuff, and they've been buying stuff in India as well. Amazon, as we know, bought Whole Foods for $13.6 billion, 460 odd stores. Both of them are opening unstaffed stores. Amazon with Amazon Go, you just walk in, take what you want and walk straight out again. In the case of Alibaba, they have a supermarket chain called Hema, and with Hema you shop using your phone. Anything you want to know about a product, you get it from the phone as well. And when you check out, you have facial recognition to check you out, and you pay via Alipay all on the phone. So the whole thing is done by the phone. Now, why are these companies investing in real estate? It's principally because the takeaway of them doing all this is actually the real estate industry might not be the best people to own real estate, because both of those two are doing is using technology and data to reimagine what a retail store looks like. And by trying to own the store and the software and the processes, they can make a very, very distinct difference. The flip side of we might not be the best people to actually operate real estate is that we've really seriously get into data very, very quickly. Signal number two: Westfields sell to Unibail-Rodamco, but they keep their retail technology arm One Market. One Market is set up to try and organise collaboration and sharing of data between lots of different retail centres. The idea is this is a bulwark against Amazon. Amazon knows so much about us when we go to their store. How do you get that sort of power if you're an individual retailer? The way to do it is by coordinating and collaborating and sharing data between everyone. But the takeaway of that, One Market could be an absolute boon to customers. It could enable individual shopping centres and smaller shopping centres, smaller retailers, smaller brands, smaller event places to have much, much more information and data on anyone they interact with, because they're going to share data with someone else. The big downside is they could actually be the industry's vampire squid, because One Market will be a platform that sits in the middle of all the data. So they can make life a lot better for those companies, but would have an enormous amount of power. They'd have Facebook type power in that they'd have almost total pricing control, because once everyone's bought into that network of data, you really can't go anywhere else. Signal number three: corporate customers at WeWork have grown from 2 to 24% in 24 months, which is quite extraordinary. 2 to 24% in 24 months. What's the takeaway from this? I think incumbent landlords are going to bleed what I call iPhone customers. WeWork is just the canary in the coal mine. There's lots of canaries out there, and they feed feed in flocks. There's lots of different brands, different propositions, great places like this. There's lots of things, but they're all feeding at the same trough. What is happening, I think, is all these changes are not happening to the entire market. They're only happening to a segment of the market, which I call the iPhone segment of the market, because the iPhone actually only has 19% of the global smartphone market, but it makes 87% of all the profit. What they have done is they have found their customer and they have developed a user experience that is so good, such a nice combination of hardware and software, that people will pay them silly money in premiums. This is the area I think everyone is aiming from here. What we're talking about now is not going to be across the whole board, but I think it's going to be the best companies, the most interesting companies, and the most forward-thinking companies. Signal number 4, back to Amazon again. They buy Ring for $1 billion. Ring is a video doorbell system, $1 billion. Facebook builds its own data centers, and Google builds a smart neighborhood, potentially up to 800 acres, controlled by them in association with the city of Toronto. So what's the takeaway of all these things going on? Well, the tech industry really is moving into real estate. There's a famous quotation by Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz, the VCs, which he wrote several years ago. He says software is eating the world. Slowly, software is eating up every single industry. And if you look at the entirety of the built world industry, you go from starting at when the design and BIM and artificial intelligence BIM, fantastic videos by the way on YouTube, put in AI BIM, robots, drones, precision engineered modular construction, IoT. The whole of the real estate industry is the tech industry. And what is happening, I think, is you've got to start thinking, is the tech industry going to learn real estate before the real estate industry learns technology? If that happens, you could see a complete change around in the value chain. You could get to a situation where the developer, who in the current market is essentially God, top of the pile, could actually end up just as an assembler. What's the point of a developer? Well, they just assemble things as we tell them to do it, because everything else is going to be produced by software. Signal number 5, 45% of the US population live within 20 miles of an Amazon fulfillment center. And that was within, before they bought Whole Foods. 45%, 20 miles from a fulfillment center, which is quite extraordinary, really. The takeaway from that is it's all about the last mile. The whole idea of what they're trying to do, Amazon, Alibaba, and people like that, they're trying to solve the last mile problem. If they can get that product to you quickly from the time you order, it changes the whole dynamics of retail. One of the things that Hema does, the supermarket that Alibaba own in China, if you live within 3 kilometers of a Hema store, they will deliver to you in 30 minutes, which is quite extraordinary. So not only do you pay with your phone and pay by Alipay, you just go on and they deliver anything you want in 30 minutes. I think there's far too much attention on click and collect in the UK real estate industry. It's far too often used as that's got them. They're going to have to come to our shops now. They're not. It's a ridiculous halfway house until we solve the problem. I think in terms of retail, as in most things, we're moving very much to a barbell world. You're going to get only the best or the cheapest will survive. At one end of the barbell will be cheap and convenient, everyday products. The other end will be experiential. All the rest in the middle, Mr. Bezos will sort that out for us. If you look at this, which is always a bit unfair, the share prices of Intu and Segru. You know, Segru always used to be, it's bloody sheds, isn't it? Oh God, sheds. Who cares about sheds? Sheds is where you want to be. Do you want to be in shopping? Not sure. Signal number 6, computers. Image recognition has got better than humans. We've moved from, in just a few years, in 2010, it was a 28% error rate in computer vision, so think face recognition. By 2017, we're down to 2.2%. The human level of accuracy is 5%. What that means is that it's as good as humans. In fact, it's way better than humans, because face recognition can actually work with 200,000 people in real time, which is quite extraordinary. Now, the takeaway from this is the world around us is becoming recognisable and analysable to the camera in your pocket. You know, you go back a long time when it was a picture was worth 1,000 words, but there's being able to point your camera at the built environment and it understand what it's seeing is a superpower, that there's all manner of capabilities that we can start pulling out when you can do that. You can understand who's visiting your store, what people are wearing, what their sentiment is. You can monitor footfall, sentiment, satellite imagery. You can understand so much. Signal number B is the same thing is happening with speech recognition. That has gone word error rates better than humans now. I don't know how many of you saw Google's I/O conference last week. They introduced this thing called Duplex, which is a virtual assistant that will go and interact in a human manner to the real world. So they gave a demo of the machine going and booking a haircut and the machine going and booking a restaurant. So actually phoning a real world store and salon and booking a system. It's so good that the biggest bugbear to the tech industry was, is it right for this robot to interact with a human without telling the human it's a robot? So it's absolutely quite extraordinary what's going on there. So speech recognition has actually moved even faster. 23% error rate in 2013. By 2017, less than 5%. As I said, 5% is the human level. So what you're getting from this is voice is actually a new computing interface, which is why we got the growth of Alexa and all these smart speakers and that sort of thing. It's now suddenly you have this capability to understand voice, and therefore you have a new interface to computing. And actually, everyone obviously finds it very easy to talk to something, and everyone actually likes to search using imagery as well. So if you combine text and imagery, the capability to do things with text and imagery, you have a couple of really strong powers. So a voice-controlled workplace anywhere. It's really hot in here. Turn it down. Can I book that meeting? Who's booked this room? Can you extend this meeting? What's on the lunch menu today? Etc. etc. It's very, very nice when you can just talk to a machine. Signal number 7, Katerra. Katerra is the most extraordinary American construction company that recently had $865 million pumped into it by SoftBank at a $3 billion valuation. What Katerra are doing is they're essentially a modular construction company, but the way they're looking at it is that all the problems as they see it in terms of the industry is the whole value chain not being at the same technical level. So you'll get one part of a construction project fully up to speed on BIM and all those sorts of things, and then you'll get another part of the chain which doesn't do it, which means everyone drops down to the lowest common denominator. Katerra are planners, architects, construction, operators, the whole shooting match. They've said, right, we're going to control the whole thing. So they say that through curating our own high quality supply chain, we can provide a fully coordinated design, much like what you expect when buying a car. That's the whole point here. We've been building cars robotically for generations because it's all automated from A to Z. That's what they're doing within the construction industry, and I think this is going to be absolutely huge. Over here you've got similar things, people like Pocket Living, precision built. They all say, I always say to people, why you keep calling this stuff prefab? This is precision engineering. This is Ferrari land. This isn't prefab land. Prefab has a connotation. This isn't. This is precision engineering here. Urban Splash are doing a similar thing where you say what you want. Do you want your sitting room on the top floor, or the ground floor, or the middle floor? Where do you want your kitchen? Where do you want your bedrooms? Well, you just tell them and they make it for you. That's the way to do construction. Legal & General are the big daddies of all this. This is their 500,000 square foot plant to produce something like 2,000 to 3,000 homes a year. And if you listen to that, imagine a home built in controlled factory conditions by fully trained and highly skilled labour, using computer control and materials and components selected as best in class, with every home produced being defect-free. I mean, the whole notion of defect-free in construction is sort of hilarious. But it's obviously where we should be going, and we can go there, and we absolutely should go there. This is what you got on the other side. Bovis is set to award people who live in some of its new build homes total of £7 million in compensation because they were crap. Who's going to win this game? You know what's going to happen here. It's only a matter of time. Takeaway number 7 from all that is, if you want to solve the housing crisis, precision engineered is the answer. I put a star and a star to say part of, because I know some of you will say that's not the complete answer, but it's certainly a big part of the answer. Signal number 8, 10.8 billion of venture capital investment has been put into AI companies in 2017. This whole world of AI has changed dramatically over the last 3 years, mainly for technical reasons, that we've suddenly got processors that can do things, we've got more data, and we've got infinite computing power. But if you look at this, neural network training, neural networks are really important for machine learning. They're the foundational layer of machine learning. They have got 60 times faster in 3 years, between 2013 and 2016. And if you look, most of that change was in 1 year, 2015 to 2016. 60 times faster in 3 years. Big things happen when you get that sort of progress. Not least of all, this is quite interesting. If you do a Google trend search, you see again 2015. It all kicks off for mentioned searches for artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Within the real estate sector, I think there's 17 workflows and areas which are absolutely in the crosshairs of AI. If you think of AI as addressing anything that is structured, repeatable, or predictable, and then you work through these different workflows within the real estate industry, each of those has a large quotient of structured, repeatable, or predictable work that we could target AI at. One really important thing here is, if you think you can let the technology develop and then be a successful fast follower, think again. From McKinsey in April. The important point to be said there is, typically with technology, is normally a good thing to just wait. Let the early adopters get in there, lose all their money, and once they've worked out how to do it, jump in. With artificial intelligence, you can't do that, because all the value comes from the learning and the data. The algorithms, anyone will be able to pick up an algorithm once it's been perfected. What you can't pick up is the training and the data. So if this is an area that you need to get into because your business has a lot of high value, structured, predictable, or a repeatable business, you need to get into this area pretty quickly. Because the takeaway of that is AI is a big deal. It's a big deal now. Real estate is in the crosshairs. Now, agility and data wins, but agility alone beats inaction. Honestly, if you are in a segment of the business which is amenable to artificial intelligence, you really need to get your skates on. We're not in a rush. This is not the end point isn't there yet. But when you've got 60 times progress in 3 years, and that is not stopping, it's going to hit you pretty quickly. Now, signal number 9, Charlie, I like this. Flexible working will be the defining characteristic of the future workplace. Amongst organisations with headcounts of 6,000 plus, they expected it to go up from 10,000 today. This was a Google report in 2015 called Workplace 2020. They said in the very large companies, flexible working was going to go up from 10% to 66% in 2018. What they found doing the survey was, the bigger the company, the higher percentage of flexible working was going to be adopted. Now, I remember when that came out and people went, "Oh, don't be stupid, 66%. That's ridiculous." But lo and behold, this was from Ming Tiandi, which is a research site based in Hong Kong. March this year, 56% of Asia's top 200 occupiers are already using flexible workplaces in some capacity, and 91% are considering using them. The takeaway from this is the genie is well and truly out of the bottle. The whole industry is moving from rent collector to service provider, whether they like it or not. And we know a lot don't like it, but tough. This genie is out of the bottle. For the top end of the market where the money is the most interesting section of the market, it's whether you like it or not. Now, signal number 10, the last one, which is my favourite one, Convene by Beko and Assemble Design Group. Convene are a US company, they're not over here at the moment. They are a workplace hospitality platform, they call themselves. They typically would take over 40,000 square feet or so or more of a building, and they would put in events, hospitality, meeting rooms, some private offices, and increasingly co-working and increasingly co-working. Now, the really interesting thing here, Assemble Design Group are a workplace design company, and Beko are a workplace analytics company. Now, the real point here, the takeaway from all this, is old real estate was all about real estate. That's what we did. What business were you in? Real estate. What do you do? Well, I deal with real estate. New real estate is about something entirely different, or it's about the same thing plus, plus, plus. New real estate is obviously about real estate. You still need all those real estate skills, but it's also about technology. It's about how am I going to understand how our building operates, how people use our building, and who is in our building, and data and analytics. How much do we understand what we need to know about all this data that is being thrown off by the technology? And then hospitality, because the office is becoming and at its best, the office is again like an iPhone. Where is the money? You have to combine hardware and software. The hardware of a building is the real estate bit. The software is all the components. It's all those components of tech and data and hospitality all piled in together. Now, what I think is so interesting with the Convene thing is there's clearly a move for more and more people to use flexible space. Now, a lot of people are using flexible space because they're doing much more activity-based working, as they say. If you remove structured, repeatable, predictable work out of the office, what are people doing? They're doing human things. Now, for human skills, you need different types of workplaces, but they're getting more and more complicated. So it's going to become more and more likely that more and more companies will outsource to someone who can handle all that, who can design them, workplaces that are going to make their workforce productive, because essentially no business wants an office. What they're after is a productive workforce. And our trick is to do what Mr. fantastically named Zig Ziglar says. You will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So there's all that tech and all that change and stuff, but there's just two things to remember here. Nothing's really changed. All this nonsense about millennials are this, and all the kids, oh bloody hell, all they're doing is looking at their phone all the time. You know, it's tosh. People are people. We're not robots. We still abide by Maslow's hierarchy. And then, in terms of business, the most important thing to remember after all of this is this. Because the point here, all this change is happening, but you don't need to be perfect at it. You just need to be better than your peers. Thank you. Sorry, a bit late.